Hey, Thomas, how are you?
I'm good, and you?
Good.
Busy week.
It's what a week. Do you want to kind of start off? Maybe give a quick intro to folks that are kind of seeing you first time.
Sure. So yeah, Thomas. I've been like in the crypto space for like a couple of years now. Like started in late 2013. I think actually like a few weeks after joining, let's say, the ecosystem, like Mount Gox happened. So it was like a similar time as these days, let's say. And we later on to went to co-found like Ledger mid 2014, like identified like this big issue around like security in the aftermath of Mt. Gox actually, and like launched this product that I'm sure you know of, like this hardware wallet security company to let you store your private key securely, making sure that they are always offline and that you have the ability to sign like in secure environments. I later went to San Francisco, co-founded that in France, moved to San Francisco in early 2015. That's where everything was happening back in the days. About 3 years ago, I left the operational roles at Ledger, and I co-founded a venture fund that is investing in what we call like the future of trust. So investing in building blocks for better, more trustworthy systems. So blockchain is obviously a big part of it, but we also invest like in AI and privacy tech, and let's say yeah, cross chain, interchain world has always been like a big interest for us, both personally and with the fund and with Ledger. So we've always been big supporters of this vision of cross chain ecosystem. And a good thing about that is that it gives the users more reason to own their keys and to be like self-sovereign, self-custodian, and to be able to interact with this wonderful ecosystem while still owning their keys. And yeah, with the fund, we've made like numerous bets in that field, and we want to see that space advance for sure. And Axelar is a project that we love and we want to see thrive in the next cycle of the next like let's say 18 months, where it's going to be a little bit bearish, but that's where like the infrastructure is going to be built for what we all want to see.
Nice. So there's a lot of information there, Thomas, right? I mean, I think let's actually dive back. I mean, I want to know the story, what led you to, think about Ledger, right? I think right now, probably most folks that are joining the same way are familiar with it, of course. And, everybody is using it, or if you're not using it, you should be using it. And it allows you to kind of have custody of your own assets, of course, and use DeFi directly, without having to trust. But yeah, I want to know what led you to think about that problem to begin with.
Yeah. So as I said, like early 2014, with a co-founder, we really wanted to be in the crypto space, and it was Bitcoin at the time. It was just Bitcoin space, and to be honest, like we didn't have like a project to focus on like directly. So the actual first step with Eric was to co-found like an actual Bitcoin center, like an actual physical place in the middle center of Paris, so that we could like gather the community of builders, community of people that were interested about the technology, to have a space, like a safe space to hack around, to learn about Bitcoin. There was like a co-working space. There was an actual like broker dealer. There was like like co-working space, like spaces for meetups and that kind of stuff. And in that process, like our previous company was like very, let's say, localized to France, and we really wanted to do something that was like global from day one, that was solving like a big problem. So as we were iterating on some of the issues around crypto, like it appeared like evident that like security was one of the what that was where the security paradigm was shifting between like the legacy world and the crypto world. So in the crypto world, it was extremely secure by its design, but like the weakest link was now on the edge of the network. Whoever owns the private keys are susceptible of getting these private keys hacked or compromised and losing their assets. So it became like such like a no-brainer that there was like a massive opportunity to provide like security tools for that new paradigm. In the same time, in that's kind of a co-working space, there was like a lot of teams that have been iterating and working on using like smart card security. That is something, a technology that is very French and very secure. That's the same technology that you've got like in credit cards or SIM cards, and that we're leveraging that technology to sign a blockchain transaction within this secure tamper-proof environment. So we kind of teamed up because we realized how complementary we were to build like a secure products with like our go-to-market capability, and to design a product that was secure, easy-ish to use, and that could we could develop and make sure it would be powering the ecosystem. So initially, as I said, it was like kind of a tough sell in a way that crypto was something, or crypto and blockchain was something that was very, let's say, kind of people saw that as a future, something digital, and it was like very hard for people to grasp that. First of all, you needed to take custody of your coins, like why not going on an exchange, and then why using an actual like antiquated type of hardware device to store your keys. So it was a very tough sell. And at the beginning, our focus was just to make sure we had a product that was solving a big problem for some of the early, let's say, Bitcoiners that saw value in these private keys and wanted to sleep well at night. And our solution was really the best way for folks in the crypto ecosystem to basically sleep well at night and have assurance that their keys are extremely are in a safe place and are not subject to the low hanging fruits type of attacks that were happening at the time.
Nice, makes sense. And were you guys kind of the only ones doing it at the time, or do you have other folks that are doing? How did the competitive landscape look like?
At the time, I think Ledger was not the first hardware wallet in the game. Trezor was let's say the first one that launched their initial kind of Kickstarter type of crowdfunding campaign back in 2013. So yeah, we were not the first one. We started to pick up at the time. We switched from, like, let's say, a Bitcoin centric ecosystem to an ecosystem. There were like numerous type of new assets where people tied values to other coins, like whether it be like just like Bitcoin forks and then Ethereum and then like other ecosystem that started to appear. And Ledger was like well positioned with say there has always been in mind to have the product as open as it can be, with the ability for third party developers to build their own apps, to be able to sign a transaction for other ecosystem, and then have like some open APIs for people to integrate, not just within like the kind of Ledger wallet interface, but within like some other interfaces. So it's really at the time where in 2017 you started to have like the Ethereum ICO movement and the Ethereum explosion. That and then like some other ecosystem, that Ledger became like the number one and by far the market leader in that category.
Nice, awesome. And so now, Ledger can be connected to a lot of different, wallets behind the scenes, right? So like MetaMasks and, Kepler and so on and so forth. When did you guys realize that, connectivity of hardware wallets and kind of a front end, interfaces is an important integration path?
No, but that was like in the 2017 type of era, a little bit before, when some teams basically worked on the APIs to make the integration very easy, like directly on the on Chrome. So I think that was 0x were the kind of the first one to make the integration, and the first integration we've made with like the first DEXs at the time, it was like Delta, Ether Delta. So it's really at that time that started to make sure the product could really be at scale integrated in some new wallets. And after it's just start going, like every ecosystem had some issues about like making sure how to provide like their community with the like the right the best, most secure possible way to store their coin and interact with the different functionalities of the chain. And that's when like basically the like all the major ecosystem are now like integrated directly with Ledger.
Nice, awesome. So I guess for today, I think we wanted to talk a little bit about the future of interaction with Web3, right? And what wallets need to look like, in a multi-chain world and multi-chain environment. And I think to me it's still very unfortunate how painful the user experience is, right? For many users, kind of having to switch between networks, switch between wallets if if MetaMask is not supported, kind of get gas on every single chain that they want to interact with, and it is a very complex experience, right? So from your view, yeah, what are your thoughts about kind of how the future wallet should look like? What are some of the functions or functionalities that you're looking for?
Um, Yeah, so I guess right now, as long as you stayed within an ecosystem, it's fairly okay indeed. So like if you live within the Cosmos ecosystem, then you've got like a specialized wallet for that ecosystem, and you can interact with like DeFi with whatever you want within that ecosystem, and you've got like some right tools right now, like in, say Kepler for Cosmos, or Temple for Tezos, or whatever. Each ecosystem has their kind of specialized type of wallets, and it could be easier, and it could be mobile, and it could be like whatever. You can think about like better UX, but at the end of the day, most of the use cases are still for some kind of a niche that are there like for whatever reason, but it still remains like mostly let's say a desktop use case, and that's where like for a lot of use case, like the kind of extension is okay. It's true that like for like this ecosystem where you start to have like different assets on different chains, like just the idea of having a UI where you've got like just to have the awareness of what's happening and where is the asset, where is the wrapped asset, on which chain, on which zone, on which stuff, that there's already this that is missing. So just like some simple like UI that gives you like a good idea of where is where is what, and getting like a global vision of kind of the portfolio and the assets. And after, like in terms so yeah, I would say like this UI is something that is missing, where you can kind of connect like different ecosystem and have everything in one place, where you can have like a vision of what you have, and then be able, if you want to, kind of interact between one chain or one other, depending on what you want to do. And as of today, this is mostly around trading. So you having the ability from that interface to engage like in a swap from an ecosystem to another, or interact with DEX or whatever. Could be like this kind of UI. Um, it's a Does that answer your question?
Yeah. So essentially, just to summarize, I guess you're saying kind of two steps. We need one is just a universal view, right, that allows you to see all your assets on different chains in one simple interface. And the next level is kind of interaction with applications directly from your wallet, no matter where the application is, without having to think how to do your trades or anything related to it.
I think also like like the way I'm interacting with these ecosystem as of today. I kind of go on the application I want to use, and I just bring like my kind of identity or my keys directly within it. So if I want to do a trade on osmosis, I will go like on that ecosystem, like use their interface to kind of build my transaction. And my wallet at the end of the day is just like I use it as a signer. So I've got the combination of the extension that is going to build the transaction, and then my ledger that is going to sign my transaction. And And I think it really, at the end of the day, depends on the type of application that you're using. So I don't think the wallet is going to drive the usage, but it's more like the application that you may have that are going to drive the way you you kind of interact with your private keys. And the wallet, at the end of the day, if you decompose the different stacks, you've got like the private keys and the management of the private keys at the lower level, and then the ability to build, like on a higher level, the ability to build a transaction, and then at a higher level, like the actual application. um, so yeah, as of today, I'm fine being able to use an application, bring my ability to sign through the extension and my ledger, and then from that application interact with like the cross-section ecosystem. So if I want then to swap back to Ethereum or to another chain, like the UI of this application will build all these transactions, and I will be, at the end of the day, at the end of the process, I'll have the ability to just like verify what I'm signing and actually sign with my ledger device directly on the application.
Makes sense. What other functionalities do you think wallet should have? And I guess I think one example, right? We talk about internally when we did kind of previous grants program is something like a super app, right? So the concept that is kind of been pretty famous to kind of batching a bunch of features together, everything from messaging, right, to like payments, to like shopping, you know, in a single application. Do you think wallets should have some of this? Do you think there are going to become some of these like super apps as we develop, or do you think they're going to be kind of abstracted away more and more, and people just will go have this layer between their wallet and the applications being dissolved over time?
Mm. Well, I think you always need to have an app and a wallet that has all the functionality that an ecosystem can provide, and that's why each of these ecosystems have like specialized extension where you can use like the full and utmost functionalities of each of these ecosystems. But you most of the time you don't need all of that features, and I guess it's everything would be very like driven by the actual application that you're interacting with, and once you need to interact with that application, that's where the application that is built correctly is going to, well, build the transaction, and display what needs to be displayed to the user, with the user then validating and signing what needs to be signed. And that's yeah, it's about like making sure the user has just the right information at the right moment for him to verify what is signing, and then like executing whatever trade transaction or interaction with the application. And after, for power users that want to interact with it directly, like, fair enough, you have the ability to do it from the app, but like on the normal like transaction or trade, you want to do it from the application. An example would be for, let's say, osmosis and transferring like some asset from one channel to another. You have the ability to send an IBC transaction directly from Kepler. Fair enough. That's somebody can do that directly from that, or you can just go on osmosis, click deposit, if I connect your wallet, click deposit asset, and then sign the transaction where you want to make the IBC transaction. But you the only thing that you have been doing is like clicking deposit, validating what you're doing, and signing. No need to do it directly from the Kepler extension interface, for that matter.
Makes sense. And so I think one of the things you mentioned, right, is giving users the ability to, inspect the transaction, right, and understand what they're actually signing, which, I think today is not that easy, right, especially if you look at, some kind of a one-off chains or consensuses, like, Solana, I think is, an example where, the transaction could be pretty complex, and then understanding what you actually sign in, whether or not it's ledger or not, is not easy. Kind of, what are your thoughts on this? Are there ways to solve it other than better UX, or yeah?
Yeah, no, I totally agree that it's not easy, and most of the time, well, you just sign blindly because you're just scrolling through like a bunch of a bunch of like messages on your ledger or on your Kepler, and yeah, I totally understand that it's not easy. Like the idea, and I don't know exactly what are the plan. I haven't followed like much of it. I'm not less operational on Ledger now, but the idea is to be able to display the right information for the user to understand what they're signing. So like it's doing an okay job from time to time. You know that you see the type of a method that is called, the type of transaction that you're doing, the who you're sending it to, but there's still like a better job at displaying the right information for people to understand what they are actually signing. And so I guess it's a job about like making it human readable, human understandable, and then the education for folks to kind of understand what is happening when they sign.
Yep, makes sense. In terms of security, right? What are your thoughts of what still needs to be done? Are there ways to improve, recovery of these wallets? I think there's a lot of talks about like social recovery mechanisms, on chains. Like, what are your thoughts behind those?
So my personal thoughts on that is that like obviously first step is like have ownership of the keys, then make sure that your keys are offline, and then make sure you have like last step is make sure that those recovery the seed phrase, well, you don't lose your seed phrase, and in that regards is different strategy. It's about like sharding the keys, but what you don't want to have is that have these keys online. So like this like interesting stuff around like social recovery. Just well, be careful where they are, what's the attack vector, and how like easily recoverable they could be. So like my view is a little bit purist on that, to like generate your keys offline, keep them offline, and and having like your own strategy to make sure that it's fireproof. You can resist the fact that you will lose one, and so having like a strategy with different shards where you can reconstitute your keys easily, even though you lose one of the shards.
Awesome, makes sense. Well, on that, I think maybe we can wrap it up. Yeah. So for everybody that's here, again, like own your own keys, right? Get a ledger if you don't, or any other wallet. I think given what we've seen in the space over the last few weeks, I think the importance of actually building decentralized and open and permissionless systems is even more evident than ever before. So I hope everybody that's here staying safe or weathering the storms. But and we still have a lot of work to do to continue building.
Awesome. That was an amazing conversation. I think at this point, like if we want to open it up for questions from the audience, now would be a great time. So maybe we hang tight and go ahead and request to speak, and we'll get you up here for your question. I think we actually have one right now. So one sec. All right, Johnson Wu, you're up.
Yeah, it's a great opportunity, and yeah, just think like the topic discussed is very important. And I have one question about, probably two questions. The first question is about on-ramp process. I feel like currently I'm exploring like multi-chain USDC and other potential, but I feel there's centralized components in the system that I try to build. So I'm wondering, is there any decentralized on-ramp, off-ramp, work or potential like solutions? That's my first question. The second question is about Axelar's decentralization. So I feel like one of the system I try to build is heavily depend on the security model of Axelar. So and that is probably one of the most centralized components in the whole system. So wondering Axelar's like roadmap on improve its security model and also the decentralization efforts.
Yeah, so I guess two questions on that. So on the online, on the off and on ramps, I think if you're looking to intersect with fiat, right, then there's naturally probably going to be kind of KYC components and some centralization components, right? I don't know how, like, even theoretically you can decentralize some of it. You can certainly build some of the application on chain, right? Some of the logic on chain, and kind of give people verifiability behind it. But you are going to be intersecting with some of the traditional institutions, and you'll have to follow the corresponding regulations. I don't know, Thomas, if you have anything else on that.
On that point, like decentralized on ramps, off ramps, as Sergey says, as long as you touch fiat, there will be some issues. That being said, there are some tools right now that are being built with like some credible team, like the MoonPay, the Simplex, the Ramp Network. There's a bunch of teams working on it, and there will be more and more. I'm sure like Stripe will come up with solution like for easier on ramps, and I guess like directly through banks and stablecoin. Sooner or later, you will have the ability to convert easily, like USD to USDC or to another stablecoin, to make that process easier. So having something decentralized in that regard is tough at scale. You can always find like some peer-to-peer markets where you can like BISC is an example I have in mind, or there's a few like exchanges that could work that way, but it's very like say frictionful to implement them at scale.
Awesome. Yeah, and I guess on your other point about security, about Axelar. So take a look at the blog we wrote on our website. So axelar.network /blog that talks about various security features of the network. Including everything from rate limits to kind of quadratic voting. The network itself is decentralized and open, right? And I think we're actively doing a lot of work to kind of increase its decentralization properties, like increasing the validator set. Kind of right now, it's just been increased on the test network, and I think there's probably going to be a governance proposal to keep on increasing it on the main network as well. So definitely, kind of a lot of work, around the security, and it's one of the topics we've been taking very seriously.
Thank you.
Awesome. Did that answer your question, Johnson?
I actually have one more question, but I will wait other people.
Okay, for sure. So does anyone else have another question? Feel free to request, and I'll get you up on stage. Okay, it doesn't look like we have any others, so I'd say Johnson, go ahead.
Okay, I think like one other question I want to really ask is like, is there any support for the atomacy execution, or like a block? Like, could we execute a transaction on other blockchain at a certain block or before a certain block? Because currently, if we want to do multi-chain, then we need to integrate with Oracle on each chain to ensure the price slippage is under a certain percentage. But is that possible that on Axelar side integrate with like certain execute on certain block or execute on certain price and do some atomacy for that? Or is there a fundamental difficulty here?
I mean, you can implement atomacy on the network layer, on top of the network layer, right? So kind of Axelar itself provides you can think of it as a, UDP level of guarantees, right? And then on top of it, you can build arbitrary application-specific protocol. And I think we have an examples repo, various examples, kind of how to do nonce execution, how to do like a two-way calls and things like that. And so if you want something atomic, you can take a look there, and it's not that hard. You just have to kind of do probably a two-way call in that case. But yeah, it would be kind of an application-specific protocol on top of the network. Does that make sense?
Oh yeah, I'll take a look. Yeah, thanks.
Awesome.
Sounds
Well,
good. If no one else has questions, I think we're good to wrap up. Sergey, Thomas, thank you for your time. Everyone listening, thanks for coming.